about the chapter number 13, magnetic effects of electric current. So let's start with the chapter. Now before this chapter number 13, we have studied the chapter number 12, electricity. In that chapter, we have discussed about electric current. And then we have studied that electric current can be used to produce heating effect in a conductor. In the similar way, electric current can also be used to generate magnetism in a conductor. So in this chapter we will discuss about the magnetic effects of electric current, that how an electric current can produce magnetic effect in a conductor. So let's start with the chapter. First of all, the very first topic is your magnet. What basically the magnet is? An object which attracts pieces of iron, steel, nickel and cobalt. In our day-to-day life, we all have seen a magnet. So, an object which can attract pieces of iron, steel, nickel and cobalt, all those objects, they are termed as your magnet. Magnets can be of different sizes depending on their shapes also. So, the most common magnet that we come across is your bar magnet. Bar magnet is a magnet which is of rectangular cross section. So, such a magnet is your bar magnet. Every magnet has its two poles. One will be your north pole, the other one will be your south pole. Then next is the magnetic field. That what basically the magnetic field is. The space surrounding a magnet in which the magnetic force is exerted. Suppose this is a bar magnet. So some particular area around this magnet in which we can experience the force of this particular magnet is termed as its magnetic field. Next one is your magnetic field lines. What basically the magnetic field lines are? These are the lines drawn in a magnetic field along which a north magnetic pole would move. This we will discuss in detail. Now the direction of magnetic field lines is always from north pole of a magnet to the south pole of a magnet. That means the magnetic field lines always originate from the north pole of a magnet and always end on the south pole of the magnet. Now, these magnetic field lines, how we will define the magnetic field lines? That these are the lines which are drawn in the magnetic field along which the north magnetic pole would move. Along the directions of the north magnetic pole, we will draw these lines, and such lines are your magnetic field lines. There are two methods to draw the magnetic field lines of a magnet. In our syllabus, bar magnet is there, so we will draw the magnetic field pattern of a bar magnet. Two methods are there. The very first method is the use of your iron fillings, and second method is by the use of magnetic compass. So first of all, let's discuss about the very first method using iron fillings. So this we will discuss with the help of an activity. Suppose I have taken a table, cardboard. On the bottom of that cardboard, I have fixed a magnet. This is the south pole of the magnet and this one is the north pole of a magnet. Then I have sprinkled some iron fillings on this cardboard. Now on tapping this cardboard, what will be observed? On tapping this cardboard, these iron fillings will align themselves in this pattern. So this pattern, these lines, these are known as the magnetic field lines. So, the maximum strength of field lines is around the poles of a magnet. Then second method, that magnetic field pattern using magnetic compass. So now in this method we will draw the field lines using magnetic compass. So before plotting it, it must be clear to us that what basically the magnetic compass is. Magnetic compass is an instrument which is used to determine the direction. Basically a magnetic compass, it comprises of a needle which is made up of a magnet, and this when you will keep it, when you will suspend it freely, so it always points towards the north pole of your earth. So this magnetic compass is an instrument which always point towards the geographical north of earth. So we will draw the magnetic field pattern of a bar magnet here using this magnetic compass. So how to draw it? Suppose this is a bar magnet. So if we place a magnetic compass at this end, so the needle will point towards this direction. So we will denote it with a point. Then next, if we will place a magnetic compass at that point, again we will note down the position of pointer of your magnetic compass. Again, in this manner, we will keep on shifting the position of your magnetic compass and note down the position of the needle. When we will remove this magnetic compass, so finally we get a curve. Finally, we get a field line which is represented like this. In the similar way, we can plot this pattern also with the help of a magnetic field compass. So this was just a method. So if we'll plot the complete field pattern of a bar magnet, so it will appears like this. That is the magnetic field lines. They are like this. The maximum strength is near the poles of a magnet and the direction is always from north pole to the south pole outside the magnet, and inside it will be shown with the parallel lines which are directed from south pole to the north pole. Now next we will discuss about the properties of magnetic field lines. The very first property is about the direction of field lines. We already have discussed that field lines always originate from north pole of a magnet as shown here and end to your south pole of a magnet. Second property is that magnetic field lines exist in form of concentric closed loops. Yeah, closed concentric loops. Closed concentric loops, it means that if I have not drawn here complete, actually when you will draw it complete, so a parallel lines will be shown like this. So these parallel lines means one complete loop here is formed and they exist in the form of concentric closed loops. Then next one, the relative strength of the field lines is shown by the degree of closeness of the field lines. It is clear from the figure as we move away from the magnet. So this gap between the field lines is keep on increasing. This gap shows the decrease in the field strength of this magnet. That means higher the gap between the field lines means lesser the field strength of a bar magnet. And last one, that no two magnetic field lines can intersect each other. That means two magnetic field lines can never intersect each other. This we can explain also, that suppose if we consider that two field lines are intersecting. Suppose that two field lines are intersecting and let it be the point of intersection of these two field lines. So if you will place a magnetic compass at this point, so we know that at one time a compass can point towards one north direction. That means two different directions, means it's not possible for a magnetic compass to specify two north directions at one point. Hence we can conclude that two magnetic field lines can never intersect each other. Next is the demonstration of the magnetic effects of current. That in this activity we will discuss that how an electric current can be used to generate the magnetic effect in a conductor. And this demonstration about this electromagnetism was given by a scientist named Oersted. That's why it is termed as your Oersted's experiment. Actually in 1820, a scientist named H.C. Oersted, he accidentally discovered that when you will place a magnetic compass near a current carrying conductor, so that magnetic compass will show some deflection. So let's study the Oersted's experiment. Oersted, in his experiment, he took a conducting wire of copper. This AB is the conducting wire of copper. He has connected this wire to a battery with the help of a key and placed a magnetic compass just below this conducting wire. In the beginning, when the key is off, that means no current is flowing through the circuit, at that time the magnetic compass was pointing towards the geographical north of Earth. Now when he turned on the key, so what was observed? When you will turn on the key, so current will flow through the conducting wire, and it was observed that there was some deflection in the magnetic compass. Now again in the second step, again when he turned off the key, so what was observed? Again this deflection disappears and this compass again points towards the geographical north of Earth. That means whenever the current will flow, the compass will get deflected depending on the direction of current. Now in the second case, here the polarity was positive and negative. In the second case, he reversed the polarity of the battery. Now when the key was off, again the compass was resting at the geographical north position. When the key was turned on, so current will starts to flow. We know that the direction of current is from positive terminal of the battery to the negative terminal. So when the current starts to flow, there was some deflection in this magnetic compass was observed. When he turned off the key, again the current disappears and this magnetic compass again rests at its original position, which is towards the geographical north. Again when he turned on the key, again the compass show a deflection in this direction. So this indicates that when the polarity of the battery is like this, so deflection was towards the right hand side, but when he reversed the polarity of the battery, the direction of deflection also get reversed. So from this experiment, Orsted's concluded 3 points. The very first point is that current carrying conductor produces magnetic field. That means every current carrying conductor will have some of the magnetic field around it. Now second point, he concluded that the larger the value of the current in the conductor, stronger is the magnetic field and vice versa. That means if the amount of current flowing through this conductor increases, then the field strength of the magnetic field generated around this conductor also get increased. And when the strength of current decreases, then field strength also get decreased. And in the third point, he concluded that if direction of the current is reversed, then the direction of field also get reversed. That we have observed here also, that when you will reverse the direction polarity of the battery, that means when we are reversing the polarity of battery, that means we are reversing the direction of current also, and on the basis of that, the direction of deflection of this magnetic compass also gets reversed, indicating that the direction of magnetic field has reversed. Next is the pattern of the magnetic field generated by current carrying conductors having different shapes. That means now we will draw the magnetic field pattern of some current carrying conductors according to their different shapes. But before starting with the magnetic field pattern, we will discuss one rule here, that is known as the Maxwell's right hand thumb rule. Basically this rule is used to determine the direction of magnetic field. This rule states that imagine if you are holding a wire in your hand such that the thumb, it is pointing in the direction of electric current, then the curl of your fingers will give you the direction of magnetic field. That means according to this rule, if you are holding a wire like this, that means thumb is pointing in the direction of electric current. That means when the direction of current, it is upwards, at that time the curl of the fingers is along anti-clockwise direction. That means at that time the direction of magnetic field here will be in anti-clockwise direction. Second one, if the direction of current is downwards like this, here the thumb is pointing in the downward direction, at that time the curl of the fingers, it is in the clockwise direction. That means when the direction of current is downwards, at that time the direction of magnetic field will be clockwise. So this is about this rule. Now we will start with this topic, that we will draw the magnetic field pattern of three conductors here. First one, the straight current carrying conductor, second one a circular coil carrying current, and third one a current carrying solenoid. So we will start with the very first, that is a current carrying straight conductor. So here what we have done, we have taken a conductor, suppose this is the conductor AB. We have connected this conductor to a battery along with the key. Now in the beginning when the key is off, at that time no current will flow. And if no current is flowing, that means no magnetic field will be there. But when you will switch on the key, at that time what will happen? Current will starts to flow, and we all know that the direction of current is from the positive terminal of the battery to the negative terminal. So at that time field will be generated around this current carrying conductor AB, and we all know that the magnetic field, it exists in form of concentric closed loops. So that is shown here with the help of these loops. Now next, what will be the direction of magnetic field? This we will determine using the Maxwell's right hand thumb rule. Here the direction of current is downwards. When the direction of current is downward, at that time the fingers, they are specifying an clockwise direction. So here the direction of magnetic field will be clockwise. Next, if you will reverse the polarity of a battery, as we have done in this case, at that time on reversing the polarity of the battery, the direction of current also get reversed. Earlier it was downwards in this, now it will be upwards in this. At that time the curl of the fingers, it is an anti-clockwise direction. So here the field will have anti-clockwise direction. This was about the field pattern. Now what all are the factors on which the magnetic field strength of this straight current carrying conductor would depend? There are two factors. First one, the magnetic field strength here will depend on current. That is, the magnetic field strength will be directly proportional to electric current passing through or flowing through this conductor. That is, if current is increased, so field strength will also get increased. If current is decreased, so field strength will also get decreased. Second one, it will be inversely proportional to the distance from the conductor. That is, B will be inversely proportional to B will be inversely proportional to R, where B is the magnetic field strength and R is the distance from the conductor. If we measure the magnetic field strength at this point, so obviously it will have some value, but if we compare it at this point, so at this point the field strength will be lesser. Why? Because here the distance from this conductor has increased and it is inversely proportional to the field strength. Next is the pattern of a magnetic field created by a current carrying circular coil. That is, if the wire is there in the form of a circular coil, if the wire is in the form of a shape of a circle, then how the field pattern of it will look like. Here we have connected a circular coil to a battery with the help of a key. Then you will turn on the key. Now we all know that the current will flow from positive terminal of the battery to the negative terminal. That means in half portion of the circular wire, the direction of the current will be upwards, and in the remaining half portion it will be downward. So we all know that the field pattern will be created according to the direction of electric current, and we all know that field pattern will exist in form of concentric closed loops. So depending on the two different directions of electric current, two loops will be formed here. Here the direction of current is upward, so using Maxwell's right hand thumb rule, if the direction of current is upward, so the direction of field will be anti-clockwise, that is shown here. And if the direction of current is downward, so field will be in the clockwise direction. So this is the field pattern of a circular coil. Here the intensity of magnetic field, that is the strength of magnetic field, will be maximum inside the circular coil. Now the magnetic field pattern of the circular coil will depend on, the very first point is on the current. Larger the amount of current flowing through this wire, higher will be the strength of magnetic field created around it. Second one, it will be inversely proportional to R, where R is the radius of the circular coil. That means greater the radius of the coil, lesser will be the magnetic field strength, and lesser the radius of the coil, so higher will be the magnetic field strength of the field created around it. Then it will be directly proportional to N, where N is the number of turns of the circular coil. If we increase the number of turns, so obviously the magnetic field strength will increase. Now number of turns means here, so I have wound this wire one time only. This is the first time, second time, third time, like this, if I increase the number of turns and then connect a battery. So in this way we have increased the number of turns here. This was about a current carrying circular coil. Next one is a current carrying solenoid. So what basically the solenoid is? Solenoid is a long insulated copper wire having large number of turns. If a insulated copper wire is there which is having large number of turns, then that wire is termed as solenoid. Now we will draw the field pattern of a current carrying solenoid. So here I have shown a solenoid. This is having large number of turns. I have connected the two ends of a solenoid to a battery with the help of a key. Here the polarity of a battery is this. Now when you will turn on the key, when you will switch on the key, so current will starts to flow from this coil. Now here the direction of current will be upward. If we consider the turns of the coil, so in this turn it is downwards, and in this portion, direction of current will be upwards, then downwards and upwards, again downwards and upwards. Like this the current will flow. So here also two different directions of current are there. So again we will draw two loops here. One corresponding to the downward direction of the current and the other corresponding to the upward direction of current. So this loop I have drawn here corresponding to the downward direction of the current. According to Maxwell's right hand thumb rule, if the direction of current is downward, so fingers are aligning in clockwise direction. So that I have shown here. Here the direction of current is upward, so fingers are in the anti-clockwise direction, that also marked here. So this is the magnetic field pattern of a current carrying solenoid. Now if we compare this field pattern to that of a bar magnet, we already have studied. So this pattern resembles to the magnetic field pattern of a bar magnet, because of which this current carrying solenoid, it is used to make your electromagnets. This behaves as a perfect magnet here. Now next one, but in a magnet so we have polarity, but here so no polarity we have specified. So again we have a rule that is known as the clock phase rule, which is used to determine the poles of a current carrying conductor or the poles of a electromagnet. According to this clock phase rule, if the direction of the current in any phase of this coil, we are talking about the phase, if the direction of current in the phase of a coil, if it is clockwise, so that will behave as a south pole, and if the direction of the current in the phase of this coil is anti-clockwise like this, so that will behave as a north pole. So according to this, if we examine this phase, so in this the direction of current here is clockwise, that means this end will behave as a south pole, and in this phase the direction is anti-clockwise, so this end will behave as a north pole. Now next is the factors on which the magnetic field strength of a current carrying solenoid would depend. The very first factor is that current. Now the magnetic field strength here will be directly proportional to current. We already have studied in the rest of the cases also. It will be directly proportional to number of turns. That means higher the number of turns, here limited number of turns are there. If you increase these number of turns, so obviously the magnetic field strength will increase. And third one, the nature of core material. Here I have not introduced any core material. If you will use a core material over here, then the magnetic field strength will get enhanced. How you can have the core material? Suppose this is a core. Here I have chosen it to be of an soft iron. If I wound the coil onto this core and then connect it to a battery, so this is nothing but your core material. So the material, the core material which you have selected will determine the magnetic field strength of this current carrying solenoid. Because of this reason only, this arrangement is used to make your electromagnets. Now here only in brief we will discuss about electromagnets, that electromagnets and permanent magnets, what basically the difference is. In an electromagnet, the magnetic field strength could be adjusted depending on the requirement by changing the current, by changing the number of turns, or by changing the core material. We can change the magnetic field strength of a electromagnet. The example is this. Okay. Second one is, if we talk about the permanent magnets or the natural magnets, bar magnet is an example of a permanent magnet. So we cannot change the magnetic field strength of a bar magnet. So these were the few points about the permanent magnet and the temporary magnet, which is your electromagnet. Next is, force on a current carrying conductor plays in a magnetic field. Till now we have studied that if a current carrying conductor is there, so some magnetic field will be generated around that conductor, and that conductor will behave as a magnet. Now we will study that what will happen if we will place a current carrying conductor in some magnetic field. So then some force will act on a conductor. This we will explain with the help of an activity. So let's do that activity. In this activity we have taken a fixed stand. Onto that stand we have connected an aluminium rod AB with the help of flexible springs. and I have placed this rod AB such that it lies in the mid of this a horseshoe magnet. That means this is the horseshoe magnet, and in between that horseshoe magnet I have adjusted this rod AB with the help of these flexible springs. Then I have connected this rod AB to the battery with the help of a key. Now when we turn on the key, so current will starts to flow. That means this will behave as a current carrying conductor. But now this is already in the magnetic field of this horseshoe magnet. So what was observed, that when the key was turned on, so there was a downward movement in this rod AB. That means when we turn on the key, the rod AB gets displaced in the downward direction. Then we reverse the polarity of this battery. Suppose here we have reversed the polarity of the battery. Now the direction of current get reversed. So here the direction of current will be like this. The same arrangement is there. Now in this, what was observed, that when the key was turned on, the rod in this the rod this time get displaced in the upward direction. So from both these we can conclude that whenever the current will flow through a conductor which is already placed in the magnetic field, so there will be some displacement observed in that conductor, and we all know that displacement is there because of a force. So we can say that some force will act on a current carrying conductor when this conductor will be placed in the magnetic field. So now we will determine that what would be the direction of force acting on a current carrying conductor when it will be placed in a magnetic field. So to determine the direction of force, we will have Fleming's left hand rule. So Fleming's left hand rule, it states that if you will stretch your left hand such that the forefinger, middle finger and thumb, they are mutually perpendicular to each other, then forefinger will point in the direction of magnetic field, middle finger will point in the direction of current, then the direction in which the thumb is pointing will be the direction of force or the motion. So this was about the Fleming's left hand rule. Next is electric motor. Basically in our syllabus DC electric motor is there. So here we will discuss about the DC electric motor. Now what basically the motor is? Motor is a device which is used to convert electrical energy into mechanical energy. That means we are connecting the electrical motor to the electric supply. So from that will take electrical energy, and after taking that energy it will convert it into mechanical energy. Now what is the working principle for this electric motor? This electric motor works on the principle that when a rectangular coil is placed in a magnetic field and current is passed through it, a force acts on the coil which rotates it continuously. Now only we have studied that if you will place a current carrying conductor in a magnetic field, then force will act on the coil. So the same principle applies on electric motor also. Here also we will have a rectangular coil, current is passing through that coil, and if you place that coil in a magnetic field, so some force will act on the coil because of which the motor starts to rotate continuously. So this is the working principle of an electric motor. Now next we will discuss about the construction and working of electric motor. If we talk about the construction of electric motor, so electric motor comprises of a rectangular coil A, B, C, D, which is connected to the two rings of copper, which is known as split ring or commutator. So here ring R1 and R2, they are the split rings of copper and known as commutator. So this portion AB of this coil is fixed to the ring R1, and the portion CD of the rectangular coil is fixed with the ring R2. Now these rings, they are connected to the battery along with the key with the help of two brushes of carbon. So B1 and B2 are the carbon brushes. Then this rectangular coil is placed between the north and south pole of a horseshoe magnet. So this and this, they are the two poles of a magnet. Now the function of commutator here is that it will reverse the polarity of current, it will reverse the direction of current through this rectangular coil after every half rotation. That means after every half rotation, that means in one rotation, this commutator will reverse the polarity of a bed current through this rectangular coil 2 times. Then next one is the carbon brushes. The function of carbon brushes is that they provide the connection. They provide the connection of this battery to this commutator. Now let's start with the working of this electric motor. In the beginning, when we turn on the key, so current will starts to flow from positive terminal of the battery to the negative terminal of this battery. So this will be the direction of current flow. If we talk about in the portion AB of this rectangular coil, so the direction of current here is upwards. We know that the direction of magnetic field is always from north pole to south pole. So this will be the direction of magnetic field. Now we know that when a current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, so force will act. Now we will determine the direction of force with the help of Fleming's left hand rule. So according to that, we will determine that the direction of force acting in this portion AB will be downwards. And if we talk about the portion CD, so here the direction of current is downwards and field is in this direction. So by applying the Fleming's left hand rule, that is here this finger aligns in the direction of magnetic field, this finger is in the direction of current. So force is acting in upwards direction. So force acting in the portion CD of this rectangular coil is upwards, and force on the rectangular coil AB here is downwards. So because of which the coil will starts to rotate in anti-clockwise direction. When the coil starts its rotation, initially it was in the horizontal position. When it starts to rotate, when it is in the vertical position, at that time this gap between these rectangular coils, this will come in contact with the carbon brushes. At that time it will behave as an open circuit and the supply of current cuts off from this rectangular coil. That means no further current will flow through this coil, but the coil will cover the remaining half rotation. That means in the beginning this portion AB was towards the left hand side and CD was towards the right hand side. After half rotation, this will be the portion CD and this will be the portion AB of this coil. That means after half rotation they will interchange their positions. Now as the commutator rings, they are fixed with the coil. So how you will redraw this? I'll redraw it to explain. Now here what I have stated, that when it was in the beginning it was in the horizontal position. When it reaches the vertical position, at that time this gap will comes in contact with the carbon brushes. That means no further contact is there and no current will flow, but because of the momentum gained by this rectangular coil, it will cover the remaining 1/4 rotation. That means it completes the half rotation. After half rotation, this side AB, it will be in the right hand side, and the side CB of the coil, it will comes to the left. Now as the rings, they are fixed to these coils, so again the rings will also exchange their position. This ring will be at right hand side and ring R2 will be left hand side, but the carbon brushes, they are fixed. Now if we determine the direction of current, earlier the direction of current in AB was upwards, but after half rotation the direction of current here is downwards. In the similar way, the direction of current in the portion CD was downwards, but after half rotation it is upward. That means after every half rotation the direction of current gets reversed. It is because of these two rings of copper, that is because of commutator. Now after half rotation, if the direction of current has reversed, so obviously the direction of force will also get reversed. Earlier in AB the force was acting in downward direction, but now it will be in upward direction, because of which it will again starts to rotate. The direction of rotation is still anti-clockwise direction. That means it was in the horizontal direction, again it will reach the vertical position. After reaching the vertical position, the carbon brushes will come in contact with the gap between these two commutators. So again the supply of current will be cut off and no current will flow. That means no force will act, but because of the momentum gained by this coil, it will cover the remaining 1/4 rotation. Like this, one complete rotation is completed by this electric motor. In this way, it will keep on rotating. So this was about the construction and working of an electric motor. Now we will discuss few methods with the help of which we can enhance the performance of this electric motor. The very first method is that by increasing the amount of current through this electric motor, we can increase the performance of an electric motor. Second step, here I have used permanent magnets. We know that the magnetic field strength of electromagnets is more than that of permanent magnets. So if we use electromagnets here instead of permanent magnets, then also we can enhance the performance of an electric motor. Third step, by introducing a core material here in between these rectangular coil, again we can enhance the performance of this motor. Or if we increase the number of turns, here so I have taken a single rectangular coil. If we increase the number of turns of this rectangular coil, then also we are improving the performance of this electric motor. So this was about that how we can increase the performance of an electric motor. One thing that I have not discussed here, that what all are the places where we can use an electric motor, what all are the devices, number of devices we are using at our home in which we are using electric motor. For example, washing machine is there, mixer grinder is there, fridge, refrigerator is there, and our water motors, the water pumps, they are also using electric motor. Even our vehicles, they are also using electric motor. Electric fan is using electric motor. So in this way, number of devices are there in which we are utilizing this electric motor. Next is electromagnetic induction. What basically the electromagnetic induction is, we will discuss here. The production of electricity from magnetism is known as electromagnetic induction. The phenomena that we have studied till now in this chapter was electromagnetism. That means we were generating magnetic effects, magnetic field in a conductor because of electric current. But this phenomena is totally reverse of that. Here we will generate the magnetism in a body with the help of, here we will generate electricity in a conductor with the help of magnetism. That means by changing the magnetic field or by changing the magnetic flux across a conductor, we will produce electricity, we will produce electric current in a conductor. So this particular phenomena is known as electromagnetic induction. Now the current which is induced here, the current which is produced because of the phenomena of electromagnetic induction is known as induced current, and the voltage so generated in a conductor because of electromagnetic induction is known as induced EMF. Now we will discuss three methods that how we can induce current in a conductor by changing magnetic flux across it. So let's discuss about the very first method. Here I have taken a straight conductor, and if I move this conductor in between the magnetic field of which is produced by the two poles of a horseshoe magnet. Suppose this is the south pole, this is the north pole. I have taken a conductor AB. Here AB is our straight conductor, and I have connected it to a galvanometer. Galvanometer is a device which is used to determine the presence of current. Depending on the presence of current, it will show deflection either towards the left side or towards the right side. So here I will connect galvanometer to this conductor AB so as to determine that whether the current is flowing or not. So how we will induce current here with the help of electromagnetic induction? In the beginning, when I just starts to rotate this, when I starts to move this wire in the upward direction. So what was observed? In the beginning, when no movement was there, so galvanometer pointer was at rest. That means it was indicating 0. But when I starts to move this wire in upward direction, then there was some deflection observed in this galvanometer. Earlier it was pointing at 0, but now it shows some deflection towards left hand side. Again, if I was moving it in upward direction, if I starts to move this wire AB in the downward direction, then what was observed? Then again some deflection was observed in galvanometer, but in the opposite direction. So this opposite direction shows here that on reversing the direction of movement of this conductor, the direction of induced current has changed. Here it was showing deflection in left side, here it was showing deflection in right side. This shows that the direction of current in both the cases is reversed. This was about the first case when we have practiced it using straight conductor. The direction here was towards the right side and here it was towards the left hand side. Now next here we will use, here we have used a straight conductor, but if we take a circular coil, a solenoid or a coil. Here, so what we have done, we have kept the magnetic field constant and we have moved the conductor. But here in the second process, what we will do, we will keep our conductor fixed at a place and then we will move the magnet inside this coil. So here what you will observe that I have taken a bar magnet, this is the north pole. If I starts to insert this bar magnet inside this coil, so what was observed, there was some deflection observed in the galvanometer which was towards right hand side. Now when I fully insert this bar magnet inside this coil and further no movement is there, at that time deflection in this galvanometer will be 0. That means it will rest at 0. Third time, when I starts to move this coil in the outwards direction, when I just move it in the outwards direction, then again some deflection was observed, but this time the deflection was in opposite direction. Earlier it was showing deflection towards right hand side, now it is showing deflection towards left hand side. So it is also indicating that when I am inserting the bar magnet inside it, then again some current is induced, and when I am ejecting it in the outwards direction, then also the current is induced, but the direction of current in both the cases is reversed. Third thing, if I have inserted the bar magnet inside this coil and further I am not changing it, I am not moving it, that means I am not changing the magnetic flux across this conductor, hence no current will be induced, which is shown by the zero deflection of this galvanometer. This was about the second step. Now in third process, we will generate induced current here with the help of two coils. One coil which is having large number of turns and to which battery is connected, that will be the primary coil, and the other coil which is having lesser number of turns and galvanometer is attached, so that will be the secondary coil. So here we will not move any of the conductor. What we will do, when we turn on the key, at that time here battery is attached, so current will starts to flow in this primary coil. We all know that whenever a current will flow through a coil, so some magnetic field will be created around it. So when we turn on the key, current will flow and its magnetic field will be generated. When this magnetic field comes in contact with the secondary coil, in the beginning, when no current was flowing, the galvanometer was pointing it towards the 0. But when we turn on the key, current will starts to flow. At that time, there was some deflection observed in this galvanometer at one time, and then it will come to 0. If the key is on, if still the key is on, then also the galvanometer is not showing any of the deflection. When key is turned off, when I turn off the key, at that time the supply of the current will get cut off, hence no electric field will be generated across it. At that time, the galvanometer will show a deflection towards left hand side for one time and again rests to 0. If I again turn on the key, then also the galvanometer one time will get deflected towards right side and then immediately comes to rest. When I turn off the key, then again it will get deflected. Immediately it gets deflected towards left hand side and then finally to 0. That means whenever I just turn on or turn off the key, that means when I turn on, so field will be created, it will come in contact with the field. That means some of the magnetic flux has changed. When I switch off the key, then field gets disappear. Again some flux change, magnetic flux has changed. That means whenever the key is switched on or switched off, only at that time some current will be induced. That is shown by galvanometer, and for the rest of the time no current will flow. So from this we can say that if I continuously turn on and turn off the key, Then the galvanometer will also show continuous deflection, one time towards left, towards right, then towards left, and then towards towards right. So in this way, by continuously switching it on and off, what I am doing, I am changing the magnetic flux across the secondary coil, because of which the current will be induced in this secondary coil, which is shown by the deflection in this galvanometer. So this was about the three processes with the help of which we can generate induced current by the process of electromagnetic induction. With this, we finish with our chapter. Thank you.